Hi, everyone. Welcome to Chicago Water Week. My name is Kalindi Parikh, and I'm the program builder here at Current. I'm so excited to be here today to share a bit about River Lab, Current's new STEM curriculum. And I'm even more excited to introduce you to today's presenters and our resident experts, Miranda Kerr from Miranda Kerr Consulting, who took the lead on creating River Lab, and Aisha Crockett, a teacher at Englewood STEM High School, who served a very important role on guiding this process. So welcome to you both. Thanks so much for joining us. Miranda, if you can jump to the next slide. Awesome. So before I pass it over to these awesome speakers, I just wanted to share a little bit of background on Current for those of you who may not be familiar with us or who might be new to our community. Current is Chicago's water innovation hub. This is our 5th year anniversary just now. And our mission at Current is to grow an inclusive blue economy, accelerate innovation, and solve persistent water problems. I'd love to spend a lot of time telling you what all of that means, but of course we have a topic to focus on today. So for more information, please go ahead and visit currentwater.org for more information on what we do to accomplish these goals. I'm gonna hop to the next slide. So for a little bit of background, Blue EDU is a compilation of water and STEM-focused online learning tools for students of all ages. We began compiling and sharing this information in early 2020 as a response to the sudden transition to virtual learning that was caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. If you go to the Blue EDU section of our website, you'll find great resources for all ages and backgrounds focused on water and STEM education. However, when we were compiling this list, we noticed a gap in resources specifically related to water quality in our region. So as a result of this gap, we created a new program called River Lab, which is a completely virtual STEM curriculum for high schoolers in CPS. So that's what we're here to talk about today. Really excited. And this program was created with grant funding from the Walder Foundation. And of course, with our supports from Miranda and Aisha, who are here to tell you about this program, how we developed it, what it looks like, and tell you where to find it once it does launch. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to these two. But while I do that, make sure that you're submitting questions in the Q&A function. We'll have some time at the end to answer some questions. And of course, if we don't answer them right away, we'll try to get back to you when we can. And then also, if you are interested in receiving the curriculum once we launch it, please go ahead and take the brief survey that Miranda jumped through right into the chat, I believe. It's not really a survey, it's one question. The question is, what's your email? So go ahead and take that if you're interested in receiving the curriculum once we launch it. So with that, I'll hand it over to Miranda and Aisha. Thanks so much.
Great, thanks so much, Kalindi. Well, when we set out to build this curriculum, the first thing we want to do is ask teachers, what do they actually need in terms of a curriculum? We want to build something that is useful, that it's something that will meet their students where they're at and is helpful to add to what they're already doing in their classrooms. So to get that teacher input, we did that in 2 different ways. We formed a teacher council, which Aisha was a part of. So she's going to share a little bit more about that experience in a second. But we asked that teacher council, what are you doing right now? What kinds of digital tools do you use? What are you looking for? What would really help your students? What do you look for when you're looking for an online curriculum? And then we also put together a teacher needs assessment that had a handful of questions, again, asking teachers more broadly about what topics they want to teach their students, how long that they would want a virtual curriculum to be. And then we were able to go through those answers with our teacher council and kind of dissect what those mean. So these are just 2 example questions from that teacher needs assessment. One of them asking, how long would you want a virtual curriculum to be? And by and large, the first response was a virtual field trip, something that was 1 to 3 hours long. And the second response was a lesson plan, something that was 1 to 2 days. So you'll see in a moment when we tell you a little bit more about River Lab, it kind of hits that sweet spot between both of these, that a teacher could use some of the resources if they just need an hour or 2 of science curriculum for their classroom, or they could do every piece of it and take 5 to 6 hours and make it a whole day of a lesson plan. And then we asked teachers what were some of the top topics you might want to address, or what would be something that we could support your science curriculum. And water quality was another one that teachers really wanted us to hit on. They felt like they needed support in having students understand those concepts. And so you'll see a lot of water quality in the curriculum that we developed. Aisha, I'll turn over to you if you want to share any more about what we were able to do in our teacher council meetings.
Mhm. So when I first found out about the teacher council, and thank you for Miranda and Kalindi for introducing me. When I first found out about the teacher council, I was very excited to join it and be a part of that process, because usually when we have a new curriculum that, you know, a school or a district wants to introduce into the classroom, one voice that you always hear, well, that is sometimes missing, is the educator's voice. So it was great to know that current wants our input and feedback, just so we can make sure that we can introduce this curriculum in a way that makes sense for our students mainly. So when we were able to participate, when I was able to participate on the teacher advisory council, I could give real-time feedback, and those adjustments were made in the moment. So Miranda and Kalindi were very open and receptive to the changes that I was offering for the curriculum, and even simple things as being a user-friendly interface for students and teachers, and making sure we can navigate the resources easily, because, you know, with teachers, you don't want to have to interact with technical difficulties while you're trying to present new material. So when we gave feedback, it was something that was easily introduced, and we were able to change the curriculum in a way that would make it easier for all our students to or interact with, and as well, to add on to that, also lend itself to student paced learning. So it may not have been we do everything immediately in class, but kind of help students really delve into building those skills to be more independent in their learning, we'll talk about it later, but in terms of like our river lab simulation, going on basically an adventure for the student themselves, and being able to lead and guide their own learning based on the materials that we have in the river lab curriculum. So this process was amazing, and just being a part of a process where I, as a teacher, my feedback was people were open to my feedback and they were receptive to it. It was an experience I never had before, and I look forward to having similar experiences again in the future.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And I should say that Aisha's feedback wasn't just welcome, or we weren't just receptive. It was highly valued. It was wonderful to have a teacher directly tell us what we could tweak to make it better, or what they really needed for this. So we're very appreciative. So what came out of this? What is it? So it's we're calling it River Lab, a virtual field trip of the Chicago River. We based it in Google Drive using Google Docs, Google Slides, and also One Google Sheets, which is a format that's already familiar to Chicago Public Schools. CPS chose Google Classroom. So many CPS schools are already using Google Classroom and Google applications. So for students to be able to access them and understand how to navigate these documents is already there. For teachers to know how to make a copy of it and modify it for what their classroom needed is already there. So that was a big benefit for us to be able to do that. And then we made it water focused, STEM virtual field trip. Major content areas of water quality parameters, the Chicago River, so that local focus of what is in students' backyards, and then real science data. That was another thing that our teachers stressed, is that it's not enough just to have a science curriculum, but the fact that this is using real data that has been collected here in Chicago really helps students to see that this science isn't just a hypothetical, that is something that's really happening. And then for the last part of it, we wanted to conclude with matching students' personal reflections or their own connections to water. What can they do to help water, or help water be cleaner, conserve water? And then also be introduced to the fact that water science careers are within reach for them, and to hear more about what that looks like and how a career path would get them there. And so the curriculum we developed was for 9th to 12th grade. It could span anyone that high school range. STEM, biology, environmental science, civics would all be a fit. NGSS connections to earth and human activity, and then also cross-cutting concepts of cause and effect are utilized in this curriculum. And then the estimated time is a wide range. It could be an hour and a half, it could be 5.5, 6 hours. It just depends on what a teacher wants to select for their students to do, if they want to do pieces of it, or if they'd like to do every aspect of the curriculum. So the River Lab is broken into 3 parts, and I'm actually going to show you what it looks like directly in the Google Drive in a second. But the first part is a choose your own adventure. So this is built in Google Slides. Students are handed the Google Slides, told to launch it as a presentation, and then they can click through it. They may end up doing things like following the different branches of the river, checking out water quality, pretending to go fishing and clicking and seeing what fish they pull up. And it's great because it's so self-directed. They might choose to do parts of it or select different things to learn more. There's external links where they can go calculate their water usage or learn about river cleanups in their area. And we'll play around with that in just a little bit so you can kind of get a feel for what the Choose Your Own River adventure is like. The second part is specifically diving into that water quality exploration. So there's another short slides presentation about the difference between the North Branch, the South Branch, and the main stem, some facts, what's along those rivers. Then there's a spreadsheet of 3 months of data that was collected by Current's H2 Now system. So they can see what are the different water quality parameters that have been collected? What do they mean? Why are they different in different parts of the river? And then just getting them used to looking at data. What's a mean, median, and mode? What do I notice about graphs? There's a student worksheet that takes them through exploring that data and the graph. And then there's also a teacher guide that helps teachers support them in that data exploration, as well as an answer key. And then a water quality parameters guide. So if they're not sure what dissolved oxygen is or why we measure it, it goes through all those different water quality parameters and supports them with that extra information. And then finally, connecting students directly back to water and themselves. So it's things like proposing water solutions. Maybe they write to their alderman. Maybe they create a fun social media piece to educate their peers on why we should care about the Chicago River or conserving water. The second one is water science careers and getting to watch videos of interviews with real scientists. And the last one is like their personal reflection on how they're connected to water. And again, because we're trying to support teachers in this curriculum development, we have a rubric so a teacher can go through and analyze what the student presented. Okay, so let's check out River Lab. Just give me 1 second. We'll pop over here. So this is what a teacher would see, is they're going to see this, or a student when they share the link with them. The begin here is in case a teacher or student ends up in this drive, but didn't see the website first and know what's happening. Maybe they got sent the link by a colleague. So when they go here, there's just an information sheet about what is River Lab. So they can start there. And then the choose your own adventure that I mentioned, where they're going to navigate the river, is over here. So we'll take a little ride on that together for a second. So here I am on the Chicago River, and I'm a student. I'm going to read the directions, and I'm supposed to click on the yellow boxes. And now here I am. And so if Aisha or Kalindi wants to let me know, I'm going to ask you all, if we don't throw something in the chat, do you want to go fishing? Do you want to go for a walk? Do you want to check out some water quality monitoring, or do you want to head south? And we can click on any of those and something different might happen.
Someone says fishing.
All right, let's go fishing. I love it. And
actually,
so
a lot of people said fishing.
awesome. And now what's awesome about this is it is Google Slides, so there's limitations, but we can make it so it feels like you're really fishing. So pretend you're casting a pole, and if you click on this part of the river, there's a bluegill, and there's some information about a bluegill. And then let's say we wanted to release it and go back and catch another. And if I click on another part, I find out about another fish. You've caught a channel catfish, and let's learn about that. And I think there's, oh, wait, there we go. And I think there's one more. Yep. And there's our northern pike. You can learn a little bit about northern pike and check that out. And so maybe you go for a walk. Oh, here I am on a walk. Maybe we hear an animal, maybe we see an animal, and we can learn about some different local wildlife. Let's say we wanted to check out that water quality monitoring. This takes us to learn more about Current's H2 Now and the water sensors and what we're looking at to monitor fecal coliform levels. And they can go through and learn more about the probe, and they can learn about why we're measuring this in the first place and what these sensors look like, and hop over to Current's website. They can look at kind of get a preview of what some of those graphs and data looks like. And on this one, the graph is interactive. So maybe you want to know like what these peaks mean. What is a CSO? Oh, that's a combined sewer overflow. I want to know what that means, and so forth. And so as they're navigating, and then back here, we can go back to the main stem. Now we're all of a sudden downtown, and we can check out more of the main stem. We can go for a walk on the river, and there's just so many choices along the way. Where you might want to keep going to see what the river looks like or learn new things. You click on things and things pop up. Well, look, we can learn about how the Chicago rivers dyed green during St. Patrick's Day. And hopefully students have a lot of fun with navigating this. And oh, there's a beach I want to check out. Oh, what does it look like to end up on the beach where the river comes out? Or I'm gonna head backwards, and I want to know what happens when I go to the South Branch. And now I can go fishing again. I can help clean up some trash. So all kinds of things. And at any point, students might want to start over and try again. And so we actually got a chance to play test this with a couple of students and get their feedback and add some new things to it as well. So that's our choose your own adventure. And that is a way that teachers could introduce the whole program to their students. They can send them to do that as an assignment at home, or they can do it in the classroom while on their devices. The other thing we're really excited about with this is if classrooms ever are put on quarantine, this is an easy activity that a teacher could pop in and be able to do a great science activity, even while they're all at home and trying to use Google Classroom. And then part 2 is all about that science data. So this one has that other slides presentation about the North branch, the South branch, and the main stem. It also has the water quality parameters. So if students need to learn more about dissolved oxygen, pH, that tryptophan-like fluorescence, which is what's measured by Current's H2 Now sensor, anything they need to know about units, what does this measure? Why are we measuring this? Who's measuring it is all within there. And then the final part of that being the real science data, where they have access to this spreadsheet with thousands upon thousands of data points, where they can look at that tryptophan, they can look at the turbidity and the temperature and the depth at all 3 locations. The graphs are there, looking at why you would calculate something a mean, median, and mode. This also has the student worksheet that takes them through all the questions and how do you explore data? What do you do with observing different graphs, making predictions, learning vocabulary as you're analyzing data? And then because this is also to support teachers, we have the background information and the answer key here for teachers that helps them so that they don't have to already have a great background in water quality. We want to support them so that they can better teach this to their students. And then that the final part there, that water connections, there's 3 different activities here, and a teacher could choose for their students to do one of these or all 3 of these, where they think about solutions to how we can think about how to take care of the water in our communities. What might that look like? What ideas do you have that you want to share with your alderman or with your peers? How can you make a pledge to conserve water? And again, as I mentioned, we're trying to support teachers in this curriculum as much as we can. We have a rubric here for them so that when students turn in their water solution, their water science career reflection, or their personal reflection on water, that's an easy thing for a teacher to review. And then finally, we just have a folder with links to the student and teacher evaluations. We're really hoping that we can get some more data and be able to continue to modify this to meet the needs of our students and teachers in this program, and then also potentially develop future curriculum to support Current's mission and thinking about water and how we can get students interested in water careers and caring about the water right in their backyards. So that's what River Lab looks like in a nutshell. So we'll head back over here. And then I'm going to turn it over to Aisha again. She's going to talk a little bit about how she's planning to use this with her students.
Thank you, Miranda, and good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for welcoming me to Water Week. So again, I am Aisha Crockett, a Chicago Public Schools teacher, and a biology teacher actually, and I teach at Inglewood STEM High School. This is actually my background picture, my beautiful school right here. And I had the amazing opportunity to provide input to the current in order to talk about how we can implement the River Lab curriculum into our classroom. So during our teacher advisory council meetings, I and a couple other fellow educators were able to offer feedback regarding the types of activities that should be included in the River Lab modules. So for educators, it is important to have a number of activities that students can engage in fully to understand the core concepts of a lesson. In Current's curriculum, it extended to a wide range of interactive activities to ensure that students with different learning styles could fully appreciate the key takeaways of the curriculum, including how to assess water quality, the importance of water stewardship, the historical and social justice components tied into equitable access to clean water, among a lot of other valuable learnings. And also, given the varied activities in the curriculum, it lends itself to flexibility and modification in any classroom setting. So for us teachers, we love it when we can introduce a curriculum that can be tailored in a way that best meets the needs of our students that are right in front of us. And with River Lab, teachers can make the necessary adjustments to ensure that the curriculum fits within the time constraints that we may come up against, while also still being clear enough to fully convey the main ideas of the modules. Additionally, the structure of the River Lab activities encourages self-paced learning for students, and also it develops critical self-autonomy and advocacy skills that all students need to be successful. So it has been a great honor to work with Current on the River Lab curriculum, and I can't wait to introduce it to my students at Inglewood STEM High School.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Aisha. I do want to thank all of our collaborators, but while I'm doing that, we're hoping to save this last part of our time to answer any questions that you had. We already had one in the Q&A that was asking, is this resource free? And I apologize for not mentioning that. Yes, it's a completely free resource, and that will be available soon when we launch. And while you're getting those questions in, I do want to take a moment to thank everyone who helped support this project. Our teacher council, who's represented today by Aisha. We also had Jacqueline Carmichael on that teacher council. We had students in a Northwestern University design thinking and communications class who helped pitch some of these initial prototypes of these digital ideas that then we turned into this curriculum. The science career interviewees, once we have those videos ready to go and up, all these scientists and people who have scientist adjacent careers with water science were able to give us their time and answer questions and be able to share some advice with students. So we're thankful for that. All of current staff who has helped contribute to this project, Svetlana, George, Elena, John, and Kalindi, and then also the funder, the Walder Foundation, who made this all possible. So thank you all so much. And it looks like we're already getting some questions in from Hallie. So how were teachers selected for this council? Great question. So we reached out in a couple of different ways. We included the request for teachers to join the teacher council on Currents newsletter that goes out to anyone interested in Currents work. We were able to share it at a couple of different partner organizations that have educator newsletters that went out. It was shared on social media. And then I also directly emailed schools. I was just looking for science departments or STEM schools in CPS. And I cold emailed people to look for teachers who were interested. Aisha, I don't know, do you remember how you found out about the teacher council or how you originally got invited?
Oh yeah, it was through an email from the STEM program manager at my school, Miss Henderson.
Okay, great. So we reached out to the STEM program managers at some of the CPS high schools. So that was great. That's how we found the teachers who were interested and willing to give us some of their time. What is everyone's favorite part of the curriculum? Thanks, Hallie. I'm not sure if you mean everyone meaning the students and the teachers, or you mean us who built it. I do think that very first part gets a lot of excitement, the choose your own river adventure in the Google Slides. I think that people were really excited to see slides be used in a different way and for it to feel interactive. And then I also think another thing that will be really popular with teachers is the fact that this is real science data and that the students can also check the live data that's coming in on Currents website. So we have the data set in the spreadsheet is from May to August. But then also students in real time can go see what the sensors are saying and what the latest data is. And they can have those conversations about, oh, it rained this week. Is that going to affect the data? Let's check it next week. And so I think that real science connection will also be popular, but I'll let the rest of the team answer too if they have different thoughts.
I can chime in. I have a thought for sure. This is a component of the curriculum that I spent a lot of time on, and it's my favorite for a lot of reasons, but we spent quite a bit of time interviewing real scientists for this curriculum. The students will have a chance to choose between, I think, upwards of 15 different interviews to listen to. And to reflect on different kinds of science careers. And we made an effort to include, various backgrounds and racial diversity and gender diversity as well. And I think what's really exciting about that is that, when we're really thinking about bridging some equity gaps in Chicago and in Chicago public schools, one of those things is that we want students to pique their interest in water early in life, but then also to be able to see a clear pathway from that interest to education and employment in water. And so it was really, really exciting to just get to hear a lot of these scientists tell us about their pathways to their career, some of them sort of unconventional, and talk about some of the challenges that they faced sort of frankly, and, in a fun kind of casual and conversational way, so that they could share some really good advice with the students who might be interested in a career in science or social science or engagement around science. So that's a really exciting thing to, give students a chance to kind of directly interface with these scientists. Aisha, what about you?
Yeah, so I know this might sound cliche, but I think every part is crucial to building a robust curriculum. So again, as a teacher, I think as long as we are able to expose our students as many times as possible to the information and in different ways and through different lenses, it really communicates to the students the value and the importance of speaking about things such as water quality. So doing the choose your own adventure lab, so that's like a good introductory activity, and then you get to some good concrete data sets to look at and analyze. And also that's great for even if you're talking about PSAT, SAT skills, having to look at graph and data information and figuring out how to interpret that data. So those are skills that we can actually build up using the River Lab curriculum. And when you go into are learning about different scientists. I work with Black and Brown students. So knowing that, hey, this is a pathway that you can go down, and this is these are some steps that other people have done, and maybe you can learn from them by watching these videos, and even the feedback survey at the end to make sure that we can continue to make improvements to the curriculum if need be, to make sure that it can be tailored in a way that continues deepening the learning for our students and even teachers. So I think all the components are necessary to create like that really varied and engaging curriculum for all of our students.
Okay, well, as we're waiting to see if there's any more questions with the couple minutes we have left, I'm going to pull up Current's website so you can see where this is going to live once it goes live. So give me just 1 second. Oops, hold on. There we go. I have so many tabs open showing you all the parts of River Lab. There we go. And so this is Current's website, currentwater.org/blue-edu. And so right now, as Kalindi mentioned in the beginning, all of the resources that they gathered during the beginning of the pandemic when they were trying to help support teachers in gathering water and water science type of lesson plans, all of those live here. And then the new River Lab that we have designed will go at the top here somewhere. So that's where you'll be able to find that once that goes live. And then I also want to just show you, we can take a quick peek at the live data and what that looks like too. And this is on the H2 Now Chicago website. And so then this is, you can see how the data is from just 5 minutes ago. And you can see what the tryptophan like fluorescence readings are right now in the Chicago River. So then students are able to go to this at any time, and we ask them to do that as well in the worksheet where they're analyzing the data to also check and see what's happening right now. Looks like we have 2 minutes left. Do we have any other questions? And then you'll also see a poll that pops up that you can answer, but we do have time for one more question if there's any more. But again, I'm going to put it in the chat like one last time if I can pull it up and have you. Oops, that is not what I meant to put in there. I'm going to stop sharing for a second so I can find that. I'm going to grab the link to the survey one more time if anyone else has not had a chance to do that just yet.
While she's doing that, I just want to say a quick thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and put my email in the chat in case anyone here is interested in participating. I will say this is a sort of first iteration of this project, and we really are excited about expanding it to other grade levels, you know, developing a K-8 curriculum, or eventually, once it's safe to do so, even having some sort of in-person sort of activities, you know, getting kids involved with live water sampling and all of those sorts of things. So we're, you know, this is a starting point for us, and we're really excited to expand. And so we're always open to hearing from potential collaborators and partners. So I'll go ahead and put my email there now, and feel free to reach out if you're interested. All right, well, seeing no other questions, I think that is a wrap. Thank you so much, Miranda and Aisha, for sharing your expertise throughout this whole process, but especially today in this initial preview. Again, for those of you that have signed up to hear back from us, you'll get the curriculum in your inbox very soon when we launch it. And then hopefully we'll stay in touch too about any future developments, but please stay in touch with Current. You can follow us on our social media channels. And just, you know, visit us on our website to learn a little bit more about what we do. And hopefully, if this was your, you know, your first event of Chicago Water Week, there's a few more left tomorrow, but we hope to see you back at some of our events in the future. All right. Thanks, everyone.